Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast here on Trinity TV and on TTT. I'm Neil Parsonlal, and here's a look at this week's top stories. His Grace urges the faithful in Curacao to embrace their Catholic identity. The steel pan is hailed as a unifying force in Trinidad and Tobago, as Trinidad Allstars starts the new year giving thanks with a Mass at the Holy Rosary RC Church. The prison's All-Star debate team wins a spirited debate against the Siparia Labour College of Trinidad and Tobago on the topic Becoming a Cashless Society. And later, we speak with Deacon Patrick Lawrence of the Catholic Prison Ministry on evangelization behind prison walls. We begin our program this evening, though, with news recently coming to hand that Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas has been hospitalized and is reported to be resting comfortably. He is being treated for sepsis at West Shore Private Medical Hospital, where he was admitted on Wednesday. Contacted via WhatsApp, Archbishop Rivas told Altos that he was waiting on the results of tests, which would take about 72 hours. In late October 2023, Archbishop fell ill while on holiday at the Dominican community's Holy Cross Priory in Tralee, Ireland, and was rushed to the University Hospital, where he spent some days in the intensive care unit. In August 2024, though, a revived Archbishop Rivas led a walk for Meru to raise funds for the Church of the Immaculate Conception on the island of Meru in the southern Grenadines, which was damaged during the passage of Hurricane Beryl. We wish Archbishop Rivas a speedy recovery and ask you to keep him in your prayers. Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon used his first Mass as Apostolic Administrator of the Diocese of Willemstad to appeal to the faithful to embrace their Catholic identity. His Grace spent a week in the Diocese of Willemstad from January 10th, getting familiar with the territory after being appointed as the Apostolic Administrator. His appointment, made by Pope Francis, followed the resignation of Bishop Luigi Secco. Laura Pickford Gordon has more in this report.
People from the 6 islands comprising the diocese and clergy were in attendance at Mass Sunday, January 12th, at the Queen of the Most Holy Rosary Cathedral, Willemstad, to show their love for Bishop Secco. Delivering his homily in English, some of which was translated into Papiamento, Archbishop Gordon's focus was on baptism, last Sunday being the feast of the baptism of Jesus.
It is baptism that brings us into relationship with God.
Ta bautismo tag-nos ding relasyon con Dios.
Relationship with each other.
Relasyon con otro.
And deep relationship with ourselves.
Y un relasyon profundo con nos mismos.
Archbishop Gordon reminded Catholics of the confidence they should have, despite the challenges of life, assuring us all that we are loved by God.
That is a lie.
Es un mentira.
The truth is,
e verdad ta,
you are beloved of God.
Kubota stima pa Dios.
God loves you with an everlasting love.
Dios te estima con amor eterno.
Archbishop Gordon gave thanks for Bishop Secco's 24 years leading the diocese.
For the many ways in which he has found priests also from all over the world, so that you can have priests in your parishes, you can have priests for the sacraments that you need.
I am Laura Pickford Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Be a blessing and bring light and hope to others like our Blessed Mother Mary was. That's the message Father Maurice White brought to the Roman Catholic faithful at the La Divina Pastora RC Church on Sunday, January 12th for the 3rd Marian devotions. Father White lamented that far too often when people come to us with problems, we make light of it. But he said we should be offering them a hope that comes from compassion, consolation, and love. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims was there and reports.
Delivering the homily at the third Marian devotion at the La Divina Pastora RC Church in Siparia, one of the 8 sacred sites for Jubilee year, Father White lamented the state of the world, where he said many of us seem more interested in worldly things rather than the gifts we received at baptism, faith, love, and hope.
Be ambitious for the higher gifts. In your baptism, you were given gifts. You were given the gifts of faith, hope, and love, and we're supposed to connect with that so that we could be a blessing.
In a world of darkness where people seem more concerned with worldly ambition and a desire to dominate and accumulate, Father White urged that we be light and not dismiss the pain and suffering of others, but give them real hope, the hope that comes from knowing God.
Hope is not something airy-fairy. Hope is tangible. The Lord is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? From whom shall I shrink? The Lord is my light and my help. And all those who connect with the gift of hope will be light and help to others. We are called to be light and help.
Declaring that the world has nothing to offer, he urged Roman Catholics to use Mary as our example. He said she showed faith, love, hope, and compassion when she rushed to visit Elizabeth on finding out that she was pregnant. And as broken as we are, we can also be like that.
Mary is our hope, because Mary is the new Eve who reverses all of that. And she helps us by she being our example to see that we are enough. You were made in the image and likeness of God, and you are enough. You don't have to believe the devil's lie. And just as you are, broken as you are, you can authentically and genuinely reach somebody else. In faith, in love, but also in hope.
I'm Raymond Sims reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
Spiritan priest Father Thomas Williamson has praised the unifying impact of the national instrument, the steel pan, that it has had in Trinidad and Tobago. Delivering the homily at a Thanksgiving Mass of the Trinidad Allstars Steel Orchestra on Sunday, January 12th at the Holy Rosary RC Church, Father Williamson said the steel pan not just provides beautiful music, but also serves as a unifying force. He praised Allstars for giving thanks, saying without God's inspiration, the pan made from oil drums could not have existed. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Members of the All-Stars Steel Orchestra turned out in full force on Sunday, January 12th to give thanks at the Holy Rosary RC Church in Port of Spain. Father Thomas Williamson admitted it was not an easy task delivering the homily at the steel band's Thanksgiving Mass on a day when the Gospel reading spoke to the baptism of the Lord.
Of course, the origin of the pan is just a drum, as far as I know at least. And because of the treatment and the imagination of some people, of someone, the pan became that beautiful instrument that you can hear everywhere in Trinidad.
Father Williamson said he has been blessed while here to live near Panyards in Tobago, at Fatima and in Port of Spain, and he has always been amazed by the ability of the instrument to bring people together.
The pan has united so many people and has done so much good in entertaining and creating beautiful art and music.
He praised Allstars for giving thanks, saying it was important to remember how God had inspired those who created the pan. Father Williamson linked our baptism to the creation of the pan, saying if the creator of the steel pan had just left the drum there and did nothing, it would have remained a drum. So it is with baptism, he said, we should not just be satisfied that we have been baptized, but we should work towards pleasing God and doing his will at all times.
Today, as we work with that drum and to become a beautiful instrument and a piece of hope and glory for everyone, so may our lives become also witnesses of God's presence in us, and may we use our baptism to please God and our brothers and sisters.
Truly beautiful music. Parish catechists play a vital role in the church, leading faith formation and creating positive experiences for parishioners. Last Sunday, the catechists at St. Michael's RC Church in Maracas, St. Joseph, were recognized for their dedication. Altos correspondent Clisha Bess has the details of this lovely story.
In appreciation, the catechists enjoyed a sip and paint event at the serene Lelani Estate in Maracas, St. Joseph. Parish priest Father Michael Woodruff said due to the fact that the church was swamped with activities during the catechetical month last September, they decided to celebrate their catechist in January. The catechists were guided through the sip and paint by artist, art teacher and fellow parishioner Paulette Narain.
The hope of the event was that the catechists could bond informally. We had persons who would infant baptism, teen confirmation, RCIA, First Communion, and those who would not regularly interact together did. Since we're also parish with various communities, we had St. Teresa's of Kono, St. Cecilia, St. Michael's. They would have interacted in a very casual way over little snacks, over the paintings. There was a lot of laughter. The hoped outcome was better building of bonds, community building, so that it will make the ministry and the coordination a lot better, and also for catechists to just have a time to relax and enjoy.
Catechetical coordinator Wendy Johnston planned the event and shared her thoughts with us.
I know the catechists work so hard. They're not paid or anything like that. They give a lot of their time every week. So I thought it would be a good way to show appreciation, a time for them to come and relax, bond with one another. So it was a good opportunity for everybody to gel in a very relaxed way, happy, informal, and it achieved just that.
Father Michael said they hope to organize more events in the Maracas area to foster community ties and engage younger parishioners.
So these are events that people do socially, and I think if we find ways of finding appropriate social events and bringing it into church, people will be interested. For example, I was hoping and thinking to have, and my young adults are going to hold me to this, I'm sure, a sushi making class for young adults. So finding ways, the things that young adults would do regularly, bringing it into the church space that could develop those bonds, make people feel comfortable.
I am Clisha Best for Catholic News Altos.
Certainly a beautiful example. Pope Francis' highly anticipated autobiography, Hope, is now on bookshelves in 80 countries globally. It's the second of 2 books in 2 years by the Holy Father, following a memoir released in March 2024. The latest offering, simply entitled Hope, was originally due to be released after his death, but Pope Francis decided it should be published instead during this Jubilee year, which has as its theme Pilgrims of Hope. NBC's Ann Thompson of the Today Show has more in this report.
The autobiography Hope was to be published after Pope Francis's death. But with the Jubilee year, it comes out today. The reality is quite simply that I am old, the 88-year-old writes. Hobbled by knee pain, Francis says it was embarrassing to use a wheelchair at first. But the church is governed using the head and the heart, not the legs. He explains why he recently simplified the papal funeral rites. Because the Bishop of Rome is a pastor and a disciple, not a powerful man of this world. The man who leads 1.4 billion Catholics says while there have been many problems, he has never lost sleep. On what he calls the evil of clergy sexual abuse, he writes, victims must know that the Pope is on their side, and on this he will not take even one step back. He also says there are no reasons to prevent women from taking guiding roles in the church. Just this month, he appointed the first woman to lead a Vatican department. But the issue of women deacons remains open to study. He reveals during his 2021 trip to Iraq, he was told of 2 potential attacks in Mosul, including a suicide bomber, but went anyway. When asked what happened to the attackers, he was told they are not there anymore. While he doesn't seek to settle scores, Francis insists his relationship with his predecessor Benedict XVI was deep and genuine, despite what he claims are made-up tales to tell the opposite story. And he explains why he invited that group of world-famous comedians to the Vatican last June, including The Tonight Show's Jimmy Fallon. We are made in the image of God, and our God smiles, he writes, and humor emphasizes the link between hope and joy.
The Trinidad and Tobago Prison All-Star debate team emerged victorious against the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies in a compelling debate on the motion, "Be it resolved that Trinidad and Tobago be converted to a cashless society." Altos reporter Kaelan Jordan tells us the debate held on January 9th was spirited and each team presented their own positions.
The debate at the CLR James Auditorium featured arguments and cross-examinations. In supporting the motion, the Prison All-Star team emphasized the benefits of a cashless society, citing global examples and how criminal activities involving cash continue to fuel fear in the nation.
Recall in 2013, when a grand total of $3 million was taken from a Sentinel security van, the end result, murder. And not forgetting the Trin City heist where bandits fled with over $17 million TT. These unfortunate incidents could have been avoided had a cashless society been embraced.
However, the team from Cipriani College firmly opposed the motion, citing concerns about financial exclusion for vulnerable populations, cybersecurity risk, and the current lack of infrastructure locally.
25% of our population are unbanked as they cannot afford a financial account and therefore cannot participate in a cashless society.
Do you remember last year when we had that situation with the TFTT data being breached?
Yes, I remember the incident.
And do you think that citizens would have confidence and trust in a cashless society when our very own Prime Minister's personal data was breached?
The Prison All-Star team countered the argument, stating that the nation is already transitioning to digital payments with growing use of online payments.
Have you ever made a purchase on Amazon, sir? Or are you living under a rock?
In the end, it was the Trinidad and Tobago Prison All-Star team who won the judges' nod of approval, emerging victorious.
It's now time for us to take a short break, but when we return, we speak with Deacon Patrick Lawrence about evangelization behind prison walls. But here's a look at this week's Catholic Trivia question. One of the questions that we'd be asked, according to Matthew 25:31-46, is, did you go to the prison? Did you visit those in prison? We have with us on set today for the first time Deacon Patrick Lawrence, who heads the Catholic Church's prison ministry. Deacon, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good.
Happy to be here.
It's good to have you here. Tell us, which of the prisons do you visit? All the prisons? How is that experience like for you?
Well, we visit all the prisons. I don't think many people know there are about 7 prisons in Trinidad. Okay. We go to all the prisons basically on a weekly basis, on a day and time allocated to us by the prison authority. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And these prisons, you have Carrera, you have Port of Spain, you have Aruca, you have Arima.
Yeah, well, in Aruca there are 4 prisons.
4 prisons within the compound.
Yes, and then just up the road to the old assembly plant, there's the ECRC, which is a place where they allocate prisoners to different prisons and so on, inmates to different prisons, yes.
But how is that experience for you and those who participate in prison ministry?
Well, I've been asked that question many times, and so have other people in the ministry. And I always refer to Mother Teresa, who once responded to a question that you teach these people a lot of stuff and so on. And her response was, not at all. They teach me. And if you spend 6 months in the prison ministry, you have a different perspective on life. You understand a lot of things that used to bother you before.
And what is the reaction of the inmates to, or client, you now call the clients of the prison system?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good word to call them clients because it takes away any stigma from being there. We get along with the prisoners very well, and I think that they enjoy, our clients enjoy us being there because it's a very boring place, a prison. And to have conversation and an exchange of ideas and spirituality and so on with people who come on a regular basis, it aids them, it settles, it keeps the prison down. The administration like when we're there because it makes it easier for them to manage where the prison, when the inmates are occupied. You know? Yeah.
But walk us through, you know, an experience when you go in or as part of the prison ministry. What happens when you go? How is evangelization done behind prison walls?
Okay, last November, the 5th, we had a mass at MSP for the first time in several years. And they brought together, it was amazing because they brought together prisoners from MSP, maximum security prison, from the remand yard. They brought some women's prisoners in there and so on. I mean, you have women prisoners and male prisoners, inmates together. You had a wonderful mass there. Father Kwesi did it. And it was just fantastic. I mean, they have their own band. We are in the process now of there's a choir that's training them how to sing our songs and so on. It really was an experience for them and for us.
We just saw a story of prisoners involved in a debate and in fact beating a very accomplished Siparia Labour College. Apart, you know, what are some of the programs that you see or that are currently in progress, or what programs you think we as the church can offer to the inmates?
Okay, let me put this to you. I went to that debate, did very well. But 2 years ago, not the same team, but the same University of Prisons, they call it. They defeated UE and they defeated UTT, all right? And that's no mean accomplishment for these guys. Programs, it's difficult to have programs in the prison put on by the authority themselves because the authority has no budget. They depend on the Ministry of National Security. And you have to understand the whole institution of the prisons in Trinidad. They are designed to incarcerate people. They were never designed to rehabilitate people. So there's no little rehabilitation that takes place through the authority. And the religious organizations that visit the prison are taking up that slack, you know. But still, there are other things that they need. These are very skilled people inside of there. You know, they have most of them have no outlet to learn, to educate, to advance themselves. The other thing I think too, there's a stigma about going to the prisons. And we have to educate the population that, you know, if you go to the prison, you don't get a disease. You know, you go in and you come out, as I say, after 6 months and so on, you're a better person, you know. So we have to get our citizens to understand that they are also citizens. And they're there for a reason, some of them by chance, by circumstance, you know. And we have to aid and help them to be better people. They're going to come back out into society sometime.
There's an old saying, you know, that, you know, the jail make the ripe fig.
Correct.
And that's the posture of so many of us in terms of how we relate. How do we get our citizens and how do we get our Catholic population now to break that cycle when prisoners come out in terms of recidivism, that it's not just a revolving door for them? What can we as church do, apart from the prison ministry that we do now?
You see, I think it's very difficult for any single organization to take the lead in this. It has to be a consensus. Everybody has to work together. You got to get the families, because often the families don't want to receive them back into their homes. So they go back into the gangs. The gangs are their family. A church, we get very few people from church wanting to go and help in the prisons. Very difficult to get workers in the vineyard. The government, all right? They have holding pens for people, right? Not geared to rehabilitation. I mean, Port of Spain prison. That I think was built in the 16th or 17th century. We're now in the 21st century, and it's the same building there with the same facilities. That's crazy, you know? They say that a country, you can judge a country by the way it treats its poor and its prisoners. And I don't think we get a passing grade in either.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Deacon, do you ever feel afraid going into the prison?
No. The first time I went into the prisons, I felt a little anxiety and so on. I've never been there before. All these walls and bars and dark and so on and so forth. But I tell you what, the prison guards that I have met there and that we have met in the organization and so on, those fellows really work hard. They bend over backwards. They work all kinds of hours and so on to have. They work a whole day's shift, and then they went also to the debate at night. You know, and I find that the prison people, the authorities there, the officers and so on, they do whatever they can. But if you don't have a budget that you can plan ahead of time, it is very. If you have to write to the ministry to get permission to buy a box of pencils and so on, how can you? You know, I just telling you as it is.
Yeah, and we thank you for that. And certainly the prison ministry and the ministry you lead is now a sign of hope. As we talk about us being pilgrims of hope, a sign of hope to our prisoners and through the prison ministry.
Well, I think in visitations to the prison, a lot of things are done. I can tell you that there's a guy out of Curacao who is an artist, and I think everybody in Trinidad knows him. He's known internationally. People come here to buy his paintings. Excellent. He taught other inmates in Curacao, and he's teaching people outside now his art, his skills. As a young fellow, I used to play rugby football against YTC, the youth there, and we took 3 of their players, we took them internationally. We took them to Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, Canada, the US, and so on. And they played for Trinidad and Tobago. You know, so there are opportunities there to help these people. Okay. But you have to create the facility. We can't do that. We are under, we have protocols that we have to observe.
Yes. Yeah. You know? And Deacon, one of the protocols here is that we do have a time constraint in terms of the length of our program. So we thank you very much for joining us. And we really want to encourage all our Catholic viewers, everybody who's interested, please come on board and do something to support the Catholic Prison Ministry. We'll be right back.
It's the year of Jubilee!
Welcome to the Jubilee year in the Archdiocese of Port of Spain. As we embark on this spiritual journey, we introduce the Jubilee Passport, the outward sign of our pilgrimage.
This passport is more than just a document. It's a symbol of grace and renewal. Every holy site you visit will bring you closer to God, and every stamp is a reminder of the inward grace you receive. Just as the moment of your baptism, your soul is renewed.
Come to St. Francis of Assisi, Sangre Grande, where grace flows abundantly in this Jubilee year. As Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon shared, this is the year to open your heart to be blessed beyond imagination. Whether you're seeking mercy, forgiveness, or renewal, God's grace is waiting to wet you with blessings. Sangre Grande is a place where hearts are transformed and lives are renewed. Don't miss out on this opportunity to experience God's grace firsthand. Visit us and be a part of this incredible journey of faith.
And we thank the parish team at St. Francis of Assisi Sacred Site in Sangre Grande for that information on the Pilgrim's Passport. And we encourage all parish media teams to continue to send us your videos and stories. Let's take a look at what's in store in this week's edition of the Catholic News with editor Raymond Sims.
Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon celebrates Holy Mass in Curacao for the first time as Apostolic Administrator. Senator Hazel Thompson Ahi addresses the issue of corporal punishment of children. And on our new Jubilee Year 2025 page, a visit to the Holy Door in Rome. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
And that's a wrap for our show this week. We thank you very much for viewing. But we leave you with some video from California, where devastating fires have destroyed thousands of homes and buildings, including churches, and left more than 24 people dead. In the midst of the devastation, though, Peter and Jackie Halpin, their 6 adult children and some of their spouses, showed up at the site of their family home in northern Los Angeles County, where in the midst of the devastation of their home, they found standing but singed the concrete statues of Our Lady of Guadalupe and St. Joseph. Their faith undiminished by the devastation, they said a prayer near the statue of Mary and sang the Regina Caeli, a 12th century Latin hymn to Mary that Peter's mother taught to her 9 children. Truly a sign of hope in times of distress. Have a look. Regina Caeli, laetare, alleluia, laetare, alleluia.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of
Rituals Coffee House.